Drawer boxes. Oh my. And here's my lead jig. Again, this is not a tutorial on how to do the whole thing. It's just basically an overview of how the lead jig works. So I set it up with my test piece. You do test pieces all the time. Always use a backer board of some kind to help prevent blowout when the bit gets through the wood out on the back side. I set it up on this wooden piece box that clamps to the workbench, and I can carry all the gear I need down inside here. What I've done is I've added an eye socket, an outlet to this box with the eye socket, and that's so I can turn on the dust collection the same time I turn on the router. More on that in a minute. So the way this works quickly is, and I've already set the tails and everything up on the jig. So the finger thing, you place it on here, and you set it on the scale here to the size of the router bit you're going to use. In this case, I'm using a 1/2-inch router bit. All right, you drop it down like so with these clamps on either side. Then you set your spacing of how you want your dovetails to look. And what I've set up here is 2 small dovetails and 2 large dovetails. That's just for a little visual interest. Once you have that set and you're satisfied, now you're going to cut the tails. And to cut the tails requires you to turn this over. And the tails are straight in and out. No big deal. So there's only one mark you have to come to on the scale, and that's right there. It's 1. It says 1. So there, you set it up and drop it down. And now you can run your router bit in and out of these spaces here to cut the tails. I've left a little more wood on the end here because this is pine. And as far as dust collection is concerned, this is one of the D4 or absolute options for any lead jig. This stays on these bars with magnets. It has a distance that you have to keep away from the fingers, and it slides back and forth like so. And you take your router and you place it in here, get the cord out of the way, and as you make your cuts in and out, there's a connector here for the tube. I have one of the Rockler connections here. It clicks onto here, and this is going into a dust buster and a shop vac. The dust buster because you clog your shock back up pretty quickly. A dust buster grabs all the big pieces in it and the little pieces, and it works out very well. And that it's got the clip thing, which is fighting me right now. There we go. So I can take that on and off. I also recommend, if you're going to buy this jig, dedicate a router to it. Some people like to use 2 routers, one for the tail bit and one for the pin bit. I'm okay with using 1 router with that, and the reason is I have adjusted the guide bush and the collet to be concentric. It has to be concentric. You can get these little conical jigs that help you do that. And the reason is if it's a little out of concentricity, you're going to get more cuts on one side of a tail than the other. You're going to wind up with gaps. And I learned that the hard way. So that's my router. This is a dedicated router. Has like a micro adjust on it for up and down. And I got a little piece of wood over here with a hole in it to place it on when I'm not using it. So that's the dust collection. And one of the things you want to make sure is this dust collection ridge is flush with the fingers here, so the router won't rock at all. So that's essentially it. Now, since the tail boards get cut first, I'll be cutting all those tail boards. And the way it works is the tail boards are marked as inside. So they are they face the cutting side faces the inside of the box. Hope that makes sense. So I marked an eye on each one of them, and that has to face me when I'm making the cuts. And you make your cut along here, and then you take a piece out and you rotate it end for end this way. You don't do this, don't flip it end for end, rotate it end for end, and clamp it back in place and do the other side. And this is the magic of the lead jig. Once you're done with that, and you're ready to do the pin boards, you take another waste piece and you cut the pin board and adjust these fingers in and out till you get the snugness you want on the pin boards. Then you go through and cut all the pin boards. Well, the pin boards are cut with the outside facing you. So they're marked O for outside, so they're facing out of the box. And that O is facing you. And again, you rotate it end for end. And this is the magic of the lead jig. This is how it gets everything aligned up tight and ready to go, and the box is flush and everything, and edges are all flush. It only goes together one way. You can set these any way you want. If you follow the directions, it'll all fit together. So that's the synopsis. That's the quick and dirty TLDR of how to use the lead jig. Now what I've added is a little LED light here, because when you're adjusting the depth of the bit, you want to see that line you're going to draw here really, really, really well. And what I mean by a line, let me get a piece of wood. The depth of your cut is indicated by, ooh, this thing broke. This is a waste piece. You put this piece of wood in here like that. This is the same thickness. This represents a pin board. And you draw a line. And that line is the depth of your cut. You want to split that line or go just a little to the downside of that line so you have a little bit of the dovetails and pins sticking out so you can sand it down for a very smooth surface. So that's it. That's kind of the TLDR of cutting dovetails on a lead jig. I'll do one or two of these boards and then do the rest of everything, and then we'll do the grooves for the bottoms. And I have an interesting way to do the grooves. It's a tool I bought a long time ago, and it works very, very well. So let's cut a few tail boards. Okay, I set it all up. I set the bit to height that I want. The workpiece is in place. Dust collection is connected. Everything's ready to go. But just to give you an idea of what I'm up against or what we're up against is this is the pile of tail boards that I have to cut. So let me do, this is like I said, a scrap piece, but I'll do the flip over thing so you can see that. So it's loud, so. Wait for the router to downwind. How's it look? I got some chip out, but yeah, I'm listening to Eric Clapton, which is cool. All right, so now you can see, oh, I didn't get it quite all the way through here. That's okay, this is a test piece. So you can see the dovetails, hide that part I didn't get through, just push it through and the dovetails. And this is just a test piece, like I said. The cut, you can't see it in camera, I'm sure, but the cut is just a tad low on the pencil line, just down the bottom of the pencil line. So when I put the pins in, I get just a little bit that I need to shave off. But you'll note these turned out to be fairly close in size, but this is a little smaller than this one. These two are a little smaller than this one. So I get a little bit of visual interest. Now, again, I have to attack this pile. Won't be on camera. Dovetails are done. This pile of boards with the dovetails on them has begot this. So the drawers are done, the drawer boxes are done, and they're in place, just loosely. I got all the rest of the drawer glides in, so that's cool. And this is what one of the drawers looks like. They dovetail, see, dovetail. Anyway, this is one of the drawer boxes, obviously. This is, and it's, I think the inside is 17 by 10, so there's a lot of room in here. That's all the drawers. These are actually pretty good size when you think about it. And the lower ones are just a little deeper. And this will be, of course, where the doors are for the shelves. So the next thing I have to do, the steps are, quickly, I will now cut the grooves for the drawer bottoms. And that's the technique I want to show you with a tool that I've got. Once that's done, we'll cut the drawer bottoms, and then we'll take apart, sand, and assemble each drawer one at a time. I just want to keep everything all matched up. Once they're then assembled, then I can start putting an interior finish so clothes don't get on the wood or wood doesn't. I don't know. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So let me set up the router table, and I'll show you what's going on with the putting the groove in for the drawer bottoms. Here's the tool I was talking about. I see it in camera. It's a router bit, obviously. Has a top bearing. The cutter is a 1/4 inch tall, and it's a little over an 1/8 inch deep cut. And basically what you do is you clamp the box together, and I'll demonstrate, and you basically run it around the router bit in the router table. And you mount this in the router table, so I've got a 1/4 inch clearance between here and the bottom of the router table, and that gives me the amount of wood I want to hold the bottom in place. Now let's put this in the router now. So I know you've seen people put routers in router tables, and you've done it yourself hundreds of times. Give it a little height. But now let's get the height. So I've got these little gauges from Lee Valley many years ago. And let's put the disc cover in place. Like that. And now crank down the router. Bingo, there it is. That's my height. So now it's all set up and ready to go, and now I can go ahead and cut some grooves in some box frames or boxes, whatever. Cutter's in place, everything's set. So the cutter spins in that direction, as we know. So I want to be going into the cutter. So I'll be going this way, all the way around the box. The clamps just hold it together. For the bigger boxes, I'm going to have to find a more elegant solution for that. So let's turn on the dust collection and make a groove. The more observant of you would see that I had a little mishap over here. It came off the edge and it tilted a little bit. That's okay. I'm fine with that. So here's what we've got. Oops, banging in the camera. So we've got a groove now that runs all the way around the inside of the box, and it's a 1/4 inch up from the bottom. So I'll be using 1/4 inch stock for the bottoms of the drawers. And like I said, it's going to be, everything's going to be kept separate. We'll do each drawer one at a time. I'm debating whether or not I want to slide the bottoms in or if I just want to build a drawer around the bottoms. Either way will work fine. Now I have to do one, two, I got to do a bunch more now. And there you go. Got them all done. Put it back. So I put them all back, you know, in their respect. It doesn't matter. They're all going to fit anywhere. But once I get them assembled and I get the drawer glides in place, they'll be marked where they go, and that's where going to live forever. So all the grooves are cut, and with that, I think this is bumping up against 16, 18, 20 minutes. So we'll end this video here. The next video is going to be drawer cleaning and assembly with the bottoms, gluing them all together, one drawer at a time. So I'll do a couple of them, of course, and then we'll do the rest off camera, and then we'll start with the drawer glides. Interesting thing about the drawer glides, I've got a jig for that does not work for inset drawers. So until next time, make wonderful, great things out of wood, and make some drawers.